Hello, this is the last part of chapter 6 in general psych. I did the first, I think, two, and then I sent you to um, ed psych chapters because they're covering the same material, so why do another mini lecture on the same stuff? But there's a couple things left in chapter 6 that you need to know before the test. One of them is preparedness. It's a question on the test. And preparedness, basically, the name gives it away. There are certain things you're more prepared to do than others. Um, so if you've ridden a Western horse, maybe you're better prepared to ride a saddlebred than if you were never rode at all. If you played the piano, you may be able to pick up music quicker than somebody who's never had any music talent before. Preparedness can be genetic because there are certain things that are passed on genetically, or it can be learned. But preparedness means that you're more prepared to do something than someone else. Uh, then we talked about counter conditioning. There's anything conditioned can be unconditioned, and counter conditioned. There's four types on the test. I asked two of the four. One is the threshold method, where we've seen that with Watson and Rosalie when they Albert too. They brought the rabbit closer and closer and closer every day, and made sure that when the rabbit was there, that it was happy, positive times. And eventually, he got over the fear of the rabbit. So, threshold method is you every day you push the threshold a little bit further and further and further till they're over whatever the phobia or fear that they have. Um, Flooding is just the opposite. It is, you have, say you have a phobia against snakes, then we're going to do that in one setting. Example, there's a guy in Kansas City that a lady was scared of snakes, and he just stuck her in a closet full of friendly, loving snakes, and left her there for 2 hours. And after that, she wasn't scared of snakes. But you got to be very careful when flooding, when you're facing your biggest fear of phobia, because it may go the wrong direction. A fatigue method is used a lot in the military and in sports. Um, Fatigue method is you do something over and over and over and over and over again till you get so tired that you finally do a better behavior. For example, I was running, we were doing track in high school, and when you do a high jump, you need to count the number of steps before you jump. Well, I forgot to count, so I just ran through the pole and hit me right in the chest. And I thought, okay, big deal. The coach unfortunately saw me, and he made me do it like 40 times. So after that, next time, the 41st time, I counted my steps and jumped. So fatigue method is doing something over and over and over again that you did incorrectly. So you get so tired of doing that, you do something else. And the final one is incompatible stimuli, and that is putting this person in a situation where they can't respond the same way. They got to do something different. So if you're going out with a smoker and you don't want to, kiss an ashtray, you go to a restaurant that doesn't have smoking. Or if you see a person A cheating on B, you move A away so they can't cheat. So that's incompatible stimuli. They can't do the same behavior because of the situation. Uh, then we talked about four cognitive principles, because of most 90% of chapter 6 on learning is all behaviorism. But we finally get to four terms that are cognitive. And insight learning was one of them by Kohler. And insight learning is discovery approach. It's when the individual comes up with a solution themselves. When the light comes on. So you may present as a teacher, you may give all the stuff together, and they had to put it together. Um, you might have the three primary colors, and then have students mix them themselves to see what other colors they can make. Blue and yellow makes green, that kind of thing. And then we have observational learning, and that should be an easy 2 points. Observational learning is you learn through observation. Very common in animals, obviously same thing in people. You learn by watching somebody else do something. Latent learning is the third term in there, and latent learning uh, is that you've learned something, but you don't show it till later. Einstein didn't talk till he's 3, then he started talking. Obviously, he learned to talk before, but he never saw a reason to do it, so it occurred later. It's like if you think of, you take the test and you go back to the dorm and you sit on your bed and all of a sudden the answer comes to you, that's latent learning. It's learning after the fact. You don't see it right away, it's after the fact. And then the final thing is incidental learning. Incidental learning, which is when you're not planning to learn something, but you learn something. Like you go on vacation to a foreign country, you're not there to learn, you're there to see the place, but you learn stuff about the country. Or you read a book on historical fiction and you learn some stuff. Or, I mean, you learn a lot of stuff in school that's not in the classroom. Unfortunately, sometimes that stuff can be incorrect. But the bad thing about incidental learning is that people remember it more than formal learning. And maybe a year from now, and somebody says, "What about when you take general psych? What did you learn?" Well, I learned to join, went to the University of Florida. So, but that's incidental learning. That's nothing to do with the course. So that should tie up everything. So if you watch the first 2, then the ed psych ones, and this chapter, then you have chapter 6, and you're ready for the test. Good luck.